Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of William & Mary Television's Flat Hat Insider.
I'm Tanner Russo.
And I'm Mary Kate Weinbrenner.
Here are this week's top stories. The SA elections encountered issues this year when students were unable to find their ballot link. With only 28.3% of William & Mary's student body voting in the most recent election, questions are being raised as to issues with the online voting program accounting for low voter turnout. Chairman of the Elections Commission, Ryan Brophy, received only 2 direct complaints from students on Election Day about not receiving a link to vote. One student found his link in his spam folder, and the other complaint came from Peter Quinn Jacobs, a student assembly senator. Quinn Jacobs realized that he never received a link in the early afternoon and talked to several other graduate students who also had trouble locating theirs. He spoke to Brophy, who promised to send him a ballot link later. Quinn Jacobs never received his ballot link. According to Brophy, trouble locating ballot links is a recurring problem. He does not believe, though, that the low turnout of this year's election corresponds with issues locating the voting link. Additionally, Brophy mentioned that 2 years ago, several students in the joint degree program between the college and the University of St. Andrews did not receive ballots because the college's Information Technology Department did not count them as full-time students. The Elections Commission receives a list of eligible voters from the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs, which receives the list from the college's IT department. This final list included the names of 8,338 undergraduate and graduate students. The last major problem with electronic ballots occurred in 2007 when former Elections Commission member James Evans lost the voting results when he pressed the wrong button. SA Vice President Katie Pinkerton acknowledged that any issues that prohibit students from voting must be resolved.
Last weekend, the Lemon Project hosted its 5th annual Spring Symposium. The Lemon Project is an organization tasked with exploring the history of the College of William & Mary's relationship with African Americans. The symposium was called Ghosts of Slavery, the Afterlives of Racial Bondage. It featured panel discussions, speakers, a solo theatrical performance, and a spoken word event. This year's symposium was held at Williamsburg Bruton Heights School, the School of Education, and the Sadler Center. This year included a broad range of professors, including some from other universities such as UVA, North Carolina, George Washington University, and New York University. Panels at the event included Transforming Death and Trauma, which dealt with the history of slavery and death for African Americans. Hannah Rosen, Assistant Professor of History and American Studies at the college, moderated the panel. The discussion focused on the struggle to commemorate the deaths of African American people following the end of slavery. A spoken word event added last year closed this year's symposium. The spoken word event featured artists from the student body and the local community. James Pataglione, an American Studies PhD candidate, organized the event. Besides its annual Spring Symposium, the Lemon Project will host its annual donning of the Kente ceremony in May for graduating students. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode of the Flat Hat Insider.
Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for all the latest news.
We'll see you back here next week.